Hello, so this is a video that I will use to introduce myself, so you can just call me Shane, and I'm an MCAT tutor amongst other subjects. This is how you can reach me. So this is my score for the MCAT the last time I took it, which was the new MCAT. So, 100th percentile right there. My educational background, I went to NYU. I double majored in physics and biochemistry. I graduated summa cum laude. On the new MCAT, I got a 526, which is 100th percentile. On the old MCAT in 2015, I got a 39, which is also 100th percentile. SAT, I got a perfect score. More can be found here. This is just I'm also a tutor for varsity tutors, so this can kind of give you some more insight as to who I am. So for instance, I've been tutoring for over half of my life. Score in the 100th percentile on the SAT, the MCAT, old and the new, and pretty much any exam you could think of. I was also a national AP scholar. I majored in physics and biochem at NYU. I've published several papers as well as patents through my research. I tutor well over 135 subjects, but my favorite subject to tutor is the MCAT and physics. I have never taken a break from tutoring, which has honed my intuition for not only acing exams, but also understanding exactly how to work with students of all backgrounds and temperaments. My teaching style involves Socratic questioning and is highly interdisciplinary. It is never a one-way stream of information. I will be asking you a lot of questions along the way. The two most important lessons I teach to my students is to have a tolerance of uncertainty. If you do not know the answer, it is okay. You will figure it out. And confidence in your own self-efficacy, because once you take the exam, I'm not going to be there, and it's going to be a brand new exam with brand new questions. So you must be able to be confident in your own ability to figure things out. Everyone can attain mastery. I never really doubt anyone. Anything can be learned. You just have to breathe and accept that you are a beginner. The Buddhists call this beginner's mind. That requires you to give into the process. Don't worry too much about the results. To learn how to learn, that is my secret and that is my ethos. So these are my degrees, biochem and physics. And here are some of my test scores. SAT, 1600, basically perfect. MCAT, AP Chem 5, AP Calculus BC 5, AP Physics B 5, AP English Lit 4. It's okay. It can't be completely perfect. AP English Language 5, AP US History 5, AP World History 5, SAT Math Level 2 750, AP US Gov and Politics 5, SAT Subject Test in World History 750, SAT Subject Test in Biology 800, SAT Subject Test in US History 770, SAT Subject Test in Literature 760, and this is the new MCAT. And it's funny because I actually got a 132 in the BB section before. AP US Government and Politics 5, AP Comparative Government Politics 5. My hobbies are machine learning, building computers, web design, creating educational content, as you are well aware of, trivia, martial arts, weightlifting, writing, day trading, and crypto. Here are the tutoring subjects that I am approved to teach through varsity. So basically anything, to be perfectly honest. LSAT, MCAT, PCAT, SAT, etc. There's a lot more as well. So back to this. My teaching approach, which I've already gone through. Here are some testimonials from some of my students. Some more testimonials. Some other jobs I've had. I was an MCAT content creator for the company Magoosh. I was a physics quiz writer for this company called Brilliant. I am a machine learning researcher. I tutor around 660 subjects total through that, which I've shown as well. Rates and logistics. Standard rate is 50 an hour. Sessions normally are 2 hours long. We'll be using either Skype or Zoom. I tend to use Zoom more now. And I use a combination of my computer, which is what I'm using right now to record this. But I also have a tablet, which I use either through the whiteboard application or a Microsoft OneNote. So what I write actually, translates to what's on the screen. Here's a sample of a notebook with my student, Nicholas. I'll show that later, to be honest. My standard rate, again, here are just some offers. Like if you basically refer me to other students, you can get credits. So what makes me different? So I use I make extensive use of data analytics to draw insights into the best way to tackle the MCAT and any other standardized tests. For you, I will custom tailor a study regimen which you will update each and every day by adding a small number of inputs. Through the use of Gantt charts, data visualization, and the aforementioned analytics, we will find patterns in areas that you are weak in and charge right in. So here's an example of a blueprint explanation versus my explanation. Let me see if I can zoom in closer. I think I'm doing the opposite here. So this is just a question that is ranked brutal in difficulty, and they even say, whoa, this is a fairly heavy question, might be good to skip over, but they're using kinematics when you don't have to use kinematics. You can just use conservation of energy. So I was able to get the answer in a much, much faster way through a lot of things that I'll be teaching you that you won't be able to get from any other tutor, to be frank. Here are some Reddit guides that I've made and other posts I've made on Reddit, which is ironically where I get most of my students. So what can you expect from being my student? You will get a tutoring experience unlike any other. When you are my student, I personally take you under my wing and you will never need another tutor again. This is my personal guarantee. My students always see results, something that I do not take lightly. In addition, once you are my student, I will share with you private original content that I have not shared with anybody else yet on Reddit nor on any other website. So if you want a sneak peek, here's something I've done. I gathered 165, that's a sample size, of MCAT scorers from 2018 to 2019 from the spreadsheet in the subreddit for MCAT in their sidebar. I sorted it by people who scored in the 100th percentile, and this was the overall consensus on the source material to use. So next step, otherwise known as Blueprint, and Altius, those full lengths are the closest to the actual exam for all sections besides cars. Princeton Review and Kaplan are a waste of time. I should know I tutored MCAT for Kaplan back in 2015. UWorld is great, but AAMC is the best. Why is your teaching style and studying style unorthodox? Because it is. For instance, I don't memorize glycolysis or any other metabolic pathways. I don't memorize any physics formula, and I distill knowledge to its most salient parts, so clarity is obtained. But that does not mean I do not memorize. I memorize math shortcuts. I will be drilling you on these. A calculation-heavy problem should take no longer than 60 seconds. I will make Anki decks for you. Making the deck is more important than downloading somebody else's. The former is elaborative rehearsal, which you should know from the Psych-Soc section, while the latter is maintenance rehearsal, which is drastically inferior. Back to metabolism. What to memorize? I say, don't get me wrong, I was a biochemistry major, so I did go over all of metabolism once upon a time. However, always remember that, according to various Psych-Soc passages, that working memory is the best predictor of academic success, above that even of IQ. Although certain tests, IQ tests like the Wechsler, do test working memory itself. Working memory deals with 7 plus or minus 2 bits of information at a time. I talk a little bit about something here, but it's not really that important right now. But basically, the reason I talk about working memory is because when you're going at a passage, you're not going to be able to understand it. Like, the passages on the MCAT are not things that you would see on in a textbook, which require you to actually have a thorough understanding of every little detail. But all the passages on the MCAT are basically published papers in real niche areas that are quite obscure. So the object isn't necessarily to increase one's working memory, but to rather digest a large swath of dense information by chunking things into 7 plus or 2 minus bits. Here's an example from metabolism. So metabolism, this is one of the things you'll get if you become my student. So basically, I just think of catabolism as oxidation, which produces energy. And basically, what do you break down for energy? I mean, there's protein, carbs, and fats. And I don't need to know the details. I can just notice that they all converge to acetyl-CoA. So all end products will converge to things like ammonia, CO2, or H2O. All right, so what type of data will I be running analytics for? So first of all, your full-length scores will be charted like this. This will be in the spreadsheet that I would share for you. This is an example of a Gantt chart. So basically, if you tell me when you're starting and when your test is, in between, I will basically create a perfect regimen for you to know exactly what to do and when to do it. I generally recommend starting off with the AAMC section banks and using their CARS material, and judging on how you do on that, supplementary material may be necessary. If it's not, then you can go straight to the AAMC practice exams. But if you do require supplementary material, I recommend Next Step, also known as Blueprint. Their practice exams are significantly harder than the actual MCAT test. So it's great practice, not for the CARS section, but for predominantly the CP and BP sections. Let me put it this way. When I did the spreadsheet of people who scored in the 100th percentile, aka their average score was like around a 524, their average Next Step scores were around 511. So your Next Step practice exams will be deflated by like 12 points or around that area. This is something that I've made that will track your daily pace. So like basically, hours studied, etc. I can go more into that, as well as your total progress. So based on, the material that you're doing, you're going to see that visually. I will make that for you. For each subject area, you'll input your performance into color-coded cells like these. So, you would just input how you do here. And I correlated the percent scores with MCAT scores, along with the percentiles for, how you do on the MCAT. And it'll automatically color-coded. So that's one of the things. So yes, this is what I was talking about. Some data from the tests and the 100th percentile scorers. So all of them did a minimum of 20 full lengths. That doesn't mean you have to do 20. A full length essentially means nothing. It's no indication of your actual score. You just keep doing them. Because I see constant threads about people freaking out about getting 2 points lower on a full length compared to how they did on the previous full length. And that means nothing. You know why? The MCAT tests such a wide range of material that, let's say you take a full length and you get something wrong on some type of topic and you learn that topic, the chances of that same exact topic being on your next full length is pretty slim. So basically you're still learning each time you do a full length, but it doesn't mean that you're going to see that actually translate into your score on the next full length that you do. So this is where I say the average, Blueprint full length for 100 percentile scores was a 511. Okay, this is just a breakdown. Okay, before we begin, there is one target score only, and that is any score above 523, aka 100th percentile. When I studied for my exam, I printed this out. This is just the, oh, it's not there anymore. It's basically the percentile, here, MCAT percentiles. It's basically this. When I was studying, I printed this out. I only looked at 100th percentile. So basically 524, I crossed everything else out because that's the only thing that you should want. You should set your goals that high because, as they say, if you aim for the stars, shoot for the stars, you'll land in the clouds. Something like that. So yes, I did get a 518 before, which corresponds to a 95th percentile, but that's not enough for me. I want 100th percentile. You don't have to be that crazy though, but I'm just telling you this is who I am. I literally say it here. This is who I am. I also retook a 35 on the old MCAT to get my 100th percentile score. I retook a 1510 on the SAT to get my perfect 1600 score. So I think you should dream big because you're working with me now. Here's a sample MCAT regimen. So something I say, 60 days or more until the exam, you should start warming up. 15 minutes of dual and back tests. You should look that up. That's pretty much the only type of test that has been proven to improve intelligence, essentially, fluid intelligence, working memory, essentially. Lizardpoint.com has some pretty good mental math stuff. If you want to work on that, I think it's good to get your brain kind of ready. 30 minutes of Anki, you guys know what that is. Start your MCAT studying. Now, you do it in this particular way. Don't do it any other way because there's something called Parkinson's law, which means if you give yourself all day to do something, let's say, all right, I'm going to, let's say it's 8 a.m., I'm going to study MCAT until 6 p.m., you're not going to spend that entire time period, 10 hours studying for the MCAT? You're just not. You have to, goals need to be concrete and measurable. So this is what you do. You turn your phone off completely. Google stopwatch, something like this. Stopwatch. Start it. Okay? Pause it for any breaks you take. If you are Googling something, or unless it's related to your exam, or if you're on Instagram or whatever, go to the bathroom, anything like that, pause it. All right? And start it again when you actually study. That way you get an actual number of, time that's actually spent studying, rather than having some nebulous idea of I studied for 10 hours today, when you in reality did not. So once you're finished for the day, input that total time you spent studying into the spreadsheet I will send you. Now that enables me to calculate both the cumulative and average time that you spent actually studying. Resources to look when looking something up. Resources to use when looking something up. I prefer to use Google image search because images are just super fast. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. So, also we perceive images through light in 95 milliseconds. Nothing is faster. If you want a more detailed or satisfying understanding, I suggest textbooks. I prefer Saladin's book for anatomy and physiology. Leninger's, I think, for biochemistry. Blodish for Molexcel, and I forgot. There's also a really good physics book that the name escapes me. I do not suggest YouTube videos. Videos are useless. They're passive. It's a one-way stream of information. They're just completely inferior. It's a complete waste of time. You may think you're learning something, but all you have is someone talking to you at a max of 250 words per minute, which is slow, but that's the fastest people can speak out loud. And if you sub-vocalize, which I'm not going to get into right now, which essentially means that when you're reading something, you read it out loud inside of your head, that's also going to be the max at which you can read, which is slow. So all you have is someone who's just explaining something to you that you can figure out in 1 or 2 lecture slides. Yeah, a picture's worth 1,000 words. So don't do any Khan Academy video. Don't do any videos. That's just, it's garbage. This is my sample routine. It's a little crazy. I don't have to go into it, but you know, I did something like this where whatever. I'm not going to go into it. So that's it. Oh, and you can try out this MCAT sample quiz that I wrote myself. It's much harder than anything you'll see on the MCAT. Yeah, there's what else can I show you? So here are some examples of OneNote notebooks that I've made for students. So this is one of my newest students. So if you become my student, this is how we'll work together. We'll be using a shared OneNote notebook, and I will have you send me as many questions as possible that you need help with, and I will be answering those questions and explaining them in the OneNote notebook. And this is outside of our session, so I'm basically doing this for free. Now, if it still doesn't make sense, then during our sessions we can go over them. But this just is the most efficient way of doing it, because this makes it like certain that during our sessions we will be working on the things that you truly do not understand. So this is an example of me going over some questions, and so some other content like math is I can go on and on. I guess I should make a video about the importance of math, because people say all sorts of crap, like, or if we go back to this question, like for instance, doing this math over here, 1.6 over 4.1, most people will tell you to just approximate, like turn the 1.6 into a 2 and the 4.1 into a 4. That's not good enough. I'll tell you how to do it in a far more superior way. So there's a lot of math things that I can show you, physics things, etc. I go over organic chem in a very, very conceptual, kind of boiled down way. These are some math things that also, like, I'll talk about at length, but yeah, just remember that the highest scorers on the MCAT are pretty much math and physics majors. That's the same for basically every single standardized test, including like the LSAT, the GMAT, the GRE, all of that. And it's pretty weird, because you would imagine a bio major to score better in the bio section than a math or a physics major, but it isn't the case. And that's because math and physics are essentially the foundations of critical thinking. And bio is simply an application of chemistry, which is an application of physics, which is an application of math. So I have a very, very strong foundational approach to those subjects. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. I am going to end it right here because I'm trying to make shorter videos. So enjoy.